Part 1 of the 64-Square Madhouse. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Phil Chenevert, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. This story was first published in Worlds of If Science Fiction, May 1962. The 64-Square Madhouse by Fritz Leiber, Part 1. Silently, so as not to shock anyone with illusions about well-dressed young women, Sandra Lee Grayling cursed the day she had persuaded the Chicago Space Mirror that there would be all sorts of human interest stories to be picked up at the first International Grand Master Chess Tournament in which an electronic computing machine was entered. Not that there weren't enough humans around. It was the interest that was in doubt. The large hall was crammed with energetic, dark-suited men, of whom a disproportionately large number were bald, wore glasses, were faintly untidy and indefinably shabby, had Slavic or Scandinavian features, and talked foreign languages. They yacked interminably. The only ones who didn't were scurrying individuals with the eager zombie look of officials. Chess sets were everywhere. Big ones on tables, still bigger diagram-type electric ones on walls, small peg-in sets dragged from side pockets and manipulated rapidly as part of the conversational ritual, and still smaller folding sets in which the pieces were the tiny magnetized discs used for playing in freefall. There were signs featuring largely mysterious combinations of letters: FIDE, WBM, USCF, USSF, USSR, and UNESCO. Sandra felt fairly sure about the last three. The many clocks, bedside table size, would have struck a familiar note except that they had little red flags and wheels sprinkled over their faces, and they were all in pairs, 2 clocks to a case. That Siamese twin clocks should be essential to a chess tournament struck Sandra as a particularly maddening circumstance. Her last assignment had been to interview the pilot pair riding the first American manned Circumluna satellite and the 5 alternate pairs who hadn't made the flight. This tournament hall seemed to Sandra much further out of the world. Overheard scraps of conversation in reasonably intelligible English were not particularly helpful. Samples: "They say the machine has been programmed to play nothing but pure Barzak system and Indian defenses, and the dragon formation if anyone pushes the king pawn." In that case, "The Russians have come with 10 trunkfuls of prepared variations, and they'll gang up on the machine at adjournments. What can one New Jersey computer do against 4 Russian grandmasters?" "I heard the Russians have been programmed with hypnotic cramming and somno briefing. Votvinnik had a nervous breakdown." "Why, the machine hasn't even a Hauptturnier or an intercollegiate one. It'll over its head be playing." "Yes, but maybe like Kappa at San Sebastian, or Morphy or Willie Engler at New York. The Russians will look like putzers." "Have you studied the scores of the match between Moonbase and Circumterra?" "Not worth the trouble. The play was feeble, barely expert rating." Sandra's chief difficulty was that she knew absolutely nothing about the game of chess, a point that she had slid over in conferring with the powers of the Space Mirror, but that now had begun to weigh on her. How wonderful it would be, she dreamed, to walk out this minute, find a quiet bar, and get pie-eyed in an evil, ladylike way. "Perhaps mademoiselle would like a drink?" "You're darn tootin' she would," Sandra replied in a rush, and then looked down apprehensively at the person who had read her thoughts. It was a small, sprightly, elderly man who looked like a somewhat thin
Sample complete. Ready to continue?